Hello everyone and welcome to the video. Today we are going to be making a brookie pie. That is a cookie and brownie hybrid combination made into a pie topped off with milk chocolate and crunchy pieces. It is absolutely delicious. If you want to see how these basic ingredients can be made into this fantastically delicious pie, keep watching because I'm about to show you the whole recipe and I'll put all the weights and measurements, cooking times, everything that you'll need to be able to make it yourself in the comments below. So let's get started. So the first thing you want to be doing in this recipe is making the pie crust. It's almost your basic shortbread recipe. So I added in some margarine, I never use actual butter in my baking, and some sugar. This is just granulated sugar because again that's what's in the cupboard, and I gave it a little bit of a mix around to get it started. And then I added the flour and I started mixing until it started to combine. It's quite a dry mix and I knew I wanted this to stick around the outside of the pie crust, so I just added in a splash of milk, and I mean a tiny splash of milk. And then I just carried on mixing it until it started to form a dough. I grabbed my pie dish. This is quite a shallow pie dish. This is what I found works really well. It's not too tall, it's just deep enough, gives you the right amount of brownie because this can be quite a rich recipe. I decided to line my pie dish out with some greaseproof paper. This might be slightly controversial, but I wanted to be able to take it out and put it on a plate to display it when it was done because this was actually instead of a birthday cake. So I just took a piece of greaseproof paper and I've scrumpled it up because I find that that's just an easier way to get it to fit into the dish. And then I've added in my dough. I didn't put it in all as one piece, I sort of spread it around just to make it easier for when I actually start to push it to the sides. So with my hands I've got in there with the dough and I've spread it out, making it flat on the bottom and pushed it towards the sides. I've just gone round the edges to make sure that it's all nice and smooth and to make sure that it's not too thick on that seam. And after doing that, it's time to pop it in the oven while you start making your brownie mixture. So for this to start off with, I need some milk and some lemon juice. This is sort of a fake buttermilk and it's in replacement of having eggs in this recipe. You can use apple cider vinegar. A lot of these recipes say use cider vinegar, but essentially you just need something acidic to kind of make that milk curdle. I always use lemon juice as opposed to the vinegar because I can always taste the vinegar in the bakes and the lemon juice just seems to be a bit more subtle and I can't tell it's in there. Next I'm putting in some margarine and I've popped that in the microwave for 30 seconds to a minute just to get it melted down to start off with. Then it's time to add the sugars. Now I will say that this brownie recipe is actually a brownie recipe I've used for years. It's from a website called Mummy's Home Cooking. I'll put the link down below so that you can see it. This recipe has never failed me. The only difference I do here is with the sugars. The recipe calls for half white sugar and half dark brown sugar, but I've got a child who doesn't like it when there's too much dark brown sugar in it, so I use 2/3 of the white and 1/3 of the brown sugar instead. And then you give these sugars and the margarine and mix up together. Now, this actually takes longer than you think because you want them both to be really well combined. So what I've found is that if you leave it for a couple of seconds and you get this ring of oil coming up to the top, that means that it's not actually mixed properly and you need to keep going. Just take that bit of time to do it and you'll see here now I'm showing you that when it's actually finished there is no oil that comes back up to the top. Before I add this mixture in, I'm just putting in a little drop of vanilla essence. I like to put it into the milk mixture. The next thing then is to add in your curdled milk. It does look disgusting, but just go with it, trust the process, give that a good mix, and then it's back into the microwave to heat it for a little bit longer. Now once it's out the microwave, it's time to add in your flour. You add in normal flour and a little bit of corn flour in here as well, and then a tiny little sprinkle of baking powder. And then my favourite part, the cocoa. Now I always put in a little bit more cocoa because I like this brownie when it's really nice and dark and rich. If you don't like it like that, put in the amount that the recipe says and then just give it all a stir together. Doesn't take too much actually because the batter is quite wet, it comes together really easily. Now hopefully while you've been making the brownie, your shortbread crust will have been in the oven for about 10 minutes, just having a bit of a cook. I probably should have actually lined it with baking beans, but I am really lazy and I just couldn't be bothered to find them out of the cupboard. So when I took it out, all I did was I got a spoon and I just gave it a little push around the edges to make sure it was back up in the places where I wanted. This worked absolutely fine, so if you don't have baking beans, don't worry about it, you don't need them. So the next step then is just to put the brownie mixture in the pie. Now the likelihood is that not all of this mix will fit in your pie, that's absolutely fine. If you've got a bit left over, just whack it in another tin and pop it in the oven while you're cooking this brookie pie. So since this was a birthday cake, the brief was to put crunchy pieces on top of it. I thought I'd go one step further and I thought I'd put some crunchy rocks into the batter as well. So I've just sprinkled them over the batter that I've poured in. You will notice that there's probably not as many Crunchie Rocks in there as you thought there might be in a packet. That's because I ate some of them while I was baking, but we don't need to talk about that one. I've just given those a little push down to make sure that they're nice and firm in there, and then I've decided to add a little bit more of that spare batter over the top. I still had a little bit left over. I still popped that in the oven, but obviously I felt like I wanted this pie to be fuller than I'd already made it. It's really entirely down to you. So once that extra bit of batter was on the top, I popped it in the oven and then it came out and I left it to cool. So once it was nice and cool, it was ready to put the chocolate top on. So I just got some of this cheap old chocolate from Asda. I used a bar and a bit, so about 120 grams. Just popped it in the microwave to get it to start melting down. You can see here that it is not fully melted. As I've said in my videos before, it does not need to be fully melted. Keep stirring it. The residual heat will melt the rest of the chocolate. And if it doesn't, then you can always pop it back in the microwave. Now, this is the point where I realised that actually I thought I might need some more chocolate in there. So I just added a bit more into it. And I did think that the residual heat would be able to melt this down, but actually it wasn't, because when you add more chocolate in, it makes the melted chocolate colder, if that makes sense. So I did end up popping this back in the microwave. You can see here I'm having my little moment of, what should I do? But I did risk it and I popped it back in the microwave for another 15 seconds, which was exactly what it needed. And it came out perfectly, all nice and melted. So once I got the chocolate melted, I added in a little drop of vegetable oil. This is because I've read that if you add a little drop of oil to your chocolate, then it means you can actually cut it without it cracking. And since this is going to be the layer on the top, I thought this might be quite nice. And it actually did work. Next thing then is just to put the chocolate over the top, smear it all over, and then the final stage is to put the crunchy on top. Now I could have put these crunchy bars inside a bag to break up, but I thought I'd just try and break them up inside the packets that they came in. Once they were broken up, I sprinkled them all over the top of the cookie pie and then patted them down to make sure they were nicely stuck in that chocolate, and then it's back in the fridge for it to set fully. And once it's set, here it is. Putting the grease proof in before will be a lifesaver now, because as you can see, I can take it straight out of the pie dish. So I wanted this on a plate because, like I say, it was instead of a birthday cake, you're going to have birthday candles in it. So I wanted it to be presented nicely. So I've just popped it on the plate there, and there it is, your brookie pie ready. Now this is after we've blown out the candles, but I took it away into the kitchen to get the first slice out, and let me tell you, it did not disappoint. This came out fantastically. There it is. You can see inside there some of the Crunchie Rocks that are just peeking through that batter and that lovely layer of chocolate on the top. It is so delicious. It's so good. I've had to make more, take it to friends. They've all tried it. One actually took a slice of it and she popped it in the microwave just for 30 seconds. Said it absolutely melted beautifully. You could have this as a piece of cake with a cup of tea. You could have this as a dessert with ice cream. I also think there's a lot of other variations that you could make with it. So if you've got any ideas for those variations, pop it down in the comments below, because I'd love to have some ideas and maybe some more videos to show you, because I would quite happily make this brookie pie on repeat every single week. If you want to have a go at it yourself, I've put everything down in the comments below, and let me know how it goes. If you've liked this video and you want to see more of these, please remember to like and subscribe, follow, hit all those buttons, and I'll see you in the next video.